I'm Matthew Cheung, I'm founder of Work in Fintech. I'm also a CEO of a fintech company called iPushPull, which is a capital markets fintech. So we have people like JP Morgan, TPI Cap, NatWest Markets for our clients. Before that, I had another fintech called Ransquark, and then before that, I was a trader for a couple of years. But for me, fintech and Web3 is the most exciting place to be. There's so much opportunity, there's so much investment, there's so much jobs, there's so much going on that's one of the reasons I decided to start Work in Fintech, which is essentially started off as a mentoring project, and it's how I met Benjamin and his father Imran. But we've started to do a whole ton of other stuff, which I can talk about today. And I also want to talk about the kind of the once in a generation opportunity you are seeing right now with fintech and Web3. Has everyone heard of Andreessen Horowitz? Yeah, they're one of the most well-known VCs in the West Coast. And they say every company will be a fintech company. So Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz, there's two of them, Ben Horowitz is the other one. Mark Andreessen, he was the inventor of Netscape, which was the first web browser, which was the interface moment for Web 1.0. And Mark Andreessen also said that software will be eating the world. He said that 10 years ago. And people are now saying finance is going to be eating the world and fintech's going to be eating the world. What they say now is every company will be a fintech company. Now, we have a podcast series with Work in Fintech, which is how I met Benjamin and Imran. But pretty much every single one of the people that I've spoken to on that podcast, which is ranging from traditional finance, JP Morgan, Goldman's, UBS, people like that, through to blockchain.com, through to Vitalik Buterin's dad, we spoke to him. Me and Benjamin interviewed him. That was a pretty good one. That's the QR code for the podcast if you want to check it out. Everyone said, like every single one of them saying every company will be a fintech company, regardless if they're in traditional finance or they're in fintech. They all think the same. So what is fintech? It's essentially the intersection of finance and technology. It's kind of what sits in the middle, and it's also the broad sweep of everything else in between. And fintech is so important, it's actually a strategically important industry for the UK now. I was lucky enough to go to China just before COVID. I was invited by the Lord Mayor, and we did a trade delegation around China to see fintech in China, and they wanted to learn from us, and it was mind-blowing seeing what they're doing over there. But looking at fintech, and when I say fintech, it's the broad sweep of everything, like I said. How's it broken down? There's lots of different sectors in fintech. This is not an exhaustive list, but this kind of shows some of the main areas and how it's split up. So you've got everything from blockchain and crypto, like we've been talking about. Blockchain.com, that's the UK's largest crypto wallet. Through to digital banks, you've got Revolut, which is now bigger than NatWest Markets. We all went into Revolut a couple of weeks ago with an insight day that we arranged. And then you've got things like payments. You might have heard of Klarna. Klarna is Europe's biggest fintech, and Stripe and companies like that. And for each one of these different subsets of fintech, there's another ecosystem with many, many companies inside it. $16 trillion is the size of financials, that's financial services as a sector, the market cap of all the companies there. It is the biggest out of all the sectors. Compare that to something like US GDP, that's 21 trillion per year. It gives you an idea of the size. If you look at the listed companies, if you look at payment companies, which is on the left-hand side, so you've got the likes of Visa, MasterCard, PayPal and Square, they are bigger than all of the 6 biggest banks in the US. Goldman's, Citi, JP Morgan, all the banks you would have heard of. All of those are smaller than just 4 payment companies now in the US. So fintech is bigger than the big banks. Financial services though is larger, that 16 trillion that we're looking at. That's because financial services have been around for hundreds of years. There's many, many financial services companies in the world. So cumulatively, there's a lot of them. So you've got that 16 trillion for financials we're just talking about on the right-hand side. Been there for a long time, hundreds of years. But it doesn't double in size every year. It might grow at 5-10% per year. It never goes up 50% or 100%. You've got fintech on the other side, which is 1/10 of financial services now. You've got crypto and Web3, and that's just looking at the size of the different crypto assets and DeFi that's out there. So look at those. When you're looking at it like this way in a chart, you can see the potential exponential growth that's going to happen in Fintech and Web3. We're just getting started with it. On the left-hand side of this, essentially you've got innovators. And innovators is the person who goes to the Apple store and queues up on day one when the new iPhone's coming out because they just want that new tech because they love it, they're an innovator. You've got laggards on the other side, and a laggard will be your gran or your mum, who might get the same iPhone but get it 7 years later. Now, looking at where Web3 is on the technology life cycle, myself and probably most people in the market will see it still in that innovative stage. Look at fintech as well. Fintech is a little bit more mature. We're getting to fintech 3.0 now. We've had fintech 1.0, which was your payment companies and open banking. Fintech 2.0 is getting more consumery. Fintech 3.0 is then the crossover into Web3. Now, I spoke about interface moments earlier. Marc Andreessen created the first internet browser. That was the interface moment of Web 1.0. The interface moment for Web 2.0 was the smartphone, and the interface moment for Web 3.0 hasn't happened yet. If any of you try to set up MetaMask or buy and move ETH around, it's not that straightforward. The interface moment hasn't happened yet in Web 3, which means there's a lot of opportunity still. And when that interface moment occurs, it means people will move up that cycle a lot quicker. If you can pick the right product in the right company, in the right industry, then you've got opportunities to create extreme wealth and value. This is a chart of Revolut. This is their valuation. At the top, that's where their valuation is right now. They're currently valued at $33 billion. In 2016, they were valued at a few $1 million. So within just a couple of years, they've gone from a few million to 33 billion. Last year, in the pandemic, they were valued at $5.5 billion. So they've gone 6x in 1 year. So the CEO, Nick of Revolut, he's now worth $7 billion. He used to trade equity derivatives at Credit Suisse before that, but you're never going to earn that amount of money working at a bank. But you can if you're going to set up your own company in fintech or Web3. This is OpenSea. OpenSea is the world's biggest NFT exchange. It's only been around for 4 years. And in 2019, the founders even thought about folding it because not much was going on. And then in 2020, they had sales of 20 million, and they thought, oh, this is quite good. Then it got to 2021, the year of the NFT, as Ben's been talking about. In Q1, their revenues were 1.5 billion. In Q2, it was 2 billion. In Q3, it's nearly 11 billion. So we're looking out for what they're doing in Q4. It's probably going to be double or triple that again. So again, you're seeing this exponential growth that's happening right now if you're picking and choosing the right places at the right time. The founders themselves said they were in the right place at the right time. So I'd like to share a little secret with you. In terms of the right place and the right time, the time is right now. It's a really exciting time at this point in time with what's going on in the world, with what Ben's talking about, with what I'm seeing in the market. So you're lucky enough to be at the start of this journey with Fintech and Web3. And there's many more of these exponential waves that's going to happen. This is what's going on right now and what will go on to happen. So you've got finance that you're familiar with. Finance is going to get eaten by fintech. Fintech is going to morph into Web3. And then ultimately, everything's going to be consumed by the metaverse. And, some of the timelines that Ben had up on the screen, out to like 2030 and so on. It's really important to think about, what, where and when. But most importantly, think about the convergence of all these different factors, these different things, these different events, these different technologies. And they're all going to converge at a future point in time. And you need to catch that wave as they're all converging. So when that interface moment happens, you're right there. You've already had your idea and you're looking to create your startup. Probably everyone's heard this very famous saying from Wayne Gretzky, the ice hockey player, skate to where the puck is going to be. So that's exactly what he's talking about. When he's playing ice hockey, he's not looking at the puck, he's going to where the puck's going to be. He didn't know it, but he's actually talking about the convergence of exponential technologies. And with those technologies, you need to understand what they are, where they are today, and where they're going to be in the future. Computation is at the bedrock of everything. In the last 20 years, we've seen the cost of bandwidth fallen from $1,200 per gigabit to under $1. Computational power has fallen. 20 years ago, it would have cost you $200 to buy 1 million transistors. Now it costs less than a cent. And storage costs Cost $600 per gigabit back in the day. Now it's next to zero. So the trend in computing is continuing very, very quickly. So think about a future where computation is abundant and infinite, it's cheap, it's unlimited, it's effectively free. And it goes beyond Moore's law when you start getting into quantum computing as well, which I'm sure probably some of you know about. This will then unlock the innovation in AI, blockchain, VR, AR, quantum computing, Internet of Things, 3D printing and robotics. So this will allow new businesses to come into existence which were impossible before. So remember, the day before something is a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. So the world is changing. Startup activity is on record highs in every single country across the world, just like it was after the financial crisis when Bitcoin was created. Now you've got COVID, you've got digitization, you've got energy, travel, working from home. All of these things will help power along the idea of fintech, Web3, some cool stuff like space and longevity as well, and the metaverse, of course. So our old friend Albert Einstein, he says we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So fintech, Web3 and the metaverse is turning these traditional industries on their head. This is a listed stock and is actually showing a few converging technologies. This is NVIDIA. If you're familiar with NVIDIA, they make chips, they make GPUs. Do you know what GPUs are used for? Blockchain mining, gaming, and AI. So again, these are themes that you want to be keeping an eye on. So the convergence of all those different technologies, the demand for those different types of sectors and industry, and NVIDIA's share price has just gone like this. And again, I'm talking about fintech and Web3. All of this applies to investing as well. All of those technologies I was talking about, when you're looking at investing and buying shares and stocks and ETFs, think about all those ideas. So hopefully you're interested in fintech and Web3, or at least curious about it to learn a bit more. Here's some of the companies which are the leading fintech companies. There's a company called CB Insights, which is a research company that produces this once a year. This is the top 250 fintech companies in the world. I'm not going to go through all of those, but just gives you a flavour. There's thousands more as well. These are the biggest 250. And then looking at the blockchain ecosystem, there's lots and lots of companies there as well. So as you know, banking and finance is just the beginning. Every single industry is going to get disrupted by Web3, blockchain and fintech. So the big question is, do I need to be a developer to work in fintech or Web3? Well, no, you don't. I can't code. I'm in awe of Ben and Imran and what they can do with coding. I've run 2 fintech companies and I can't code. If you can code, it's great. And there's lots of companies you can work for and get very large salaries because you'll be very in demand. But if you can't, it doesn't matter. So just to show you a quick flavour of some of the other jobs that are out there and other job roles in tech companies. So you've also got, like any company, you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got products, you've got data, you've got community, you've got all these different roles. So if you can't code, you can still work at a tech company, a fintech company or a Web3 company. So you can still be part of that exponential growth if you're picking the right sectors with the right companies. So these are some of the companies that we work with work in fintech. This list is growing quite quickly now in terms of companies that we work with and also companies that we help get people into. And on the NFT side, I'm glad to announce, it's the first time we've actually told anyone, we're launching our own NFTs to work in fintech. The great thing about fintech and Web3 is that age, gender, ethnicity, and any other differences are not barriers. And it's one of the most meritocratic industries where skills, ideas, and passion and experience really does trump everything else. It's also multidisciplinary by nature because it's deeply rooted in entrepreneurship. So work in fintech, we're creating some social NFTs together with Ben and a Brazilian artist called Masai. And the proceeds of this are going to be used to help fund learning with more communities around fintech and Web3. So keep an eye on that in the next couple of weeks. So to finish off, I'm Matthew Cheung, I'm founder of Work in Fintech. I'm really grateful for your time today. Hope I managed to show you some of the incredible opportunities that are here right now. Really have a think about them. Any career you go into, what's the angle with looking at Web3, looking at DeFi, looking at fintech? That's where you can really get ahead. The QR code here, if you want to take a picture, that's for our Discord chat. If you go into the chat and you've been in this hall and you've attended this, we'll send you a free NFT. We'll send those out tomorrow. And if you've got any questions, you can fire them into that Discord chat. That'll be us kind of helping out people. You can interact with each other, helping each other find jobs. We can help you find jobs, business opportunities, looking for co-founders, any questions at all. Also, check out our website, our social, and our podcast. My email's up there as well. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to contact me. We're also looking for some interns for work in fintech, so if any of this sounds quite interesting, we're always looking for people to get involved. And my company, I Push Pull, we're a capital markets fintech. We're hiring at the moment as well, so check out that. Thank you very much.
You've been hearing from Matt there, everything that he had to say, from how you can get involved from a career standpoint and all the future jobs that are going to be available in terms of the next sector to get involved in will be fintech. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, massively inspired by the whole event. It's great. Yeah.
Matt's talk, I think, it was very useful for giving people who otherwise wouldn't know a sense of the scale of the opportunity. And the web term where people don't know about the web .com bubble and kind of the boom of technology, but it's kind of not super intuitive, this idea of Web3. And I think it's not really intuitive till after the fact. And it's kind of quite insightful to be kind of self-aware about what's going on in the